It's about that time of day again here, boys and girls. Newsletter time. Joseph James here. School of Trade, Sideways Markets, your nightly newsletter for, it's already Thursday evening, October 16th, 2014. Welcome back to our nightly newsletter here, boys and girls. Whew, that volatility is crazy this week. Today was one of the more challenging days of the week. Markets all over the place. If you're trying to figure out why, I'll save you the trouble. Just focus on those charts. The charts, they never lie. We got a jam-packed newsletter in store for you guys and gals. We're going to put together some strategies for tomorrow. Before I jump into tonight's newsletter, I do want to remind you, boys and girls, to make sure you're watching this video on our blog over here at Sideways Markets. If you're not watching the video on our blog right now, make sure you follow that link below the YouTube video if you're watching our YouTube page. And head on over here to sidewaysmarkets.com for 3 specific reasons. Reason number 1, you can download all of my charts this evening. There's a link right below the video, right? Number 1 here, make sure you download today's charts right below that video, as you can see on our blog. Number 2, upper left-hand corner, I got a special free pass for you guys and gals. Come out and join me in my live trade room here this week or next week, whatever's convenient for you. I got a free pass for you guys. Come out and join us in our live trade room. We've had an incredible week in the trade room this week. And number 3, last but not least, right above my ugly mug, you'll see, of course, a spot there for your nightly newsletter mailing list. I would love the honor of sending you an email every evening when I send out my newsletter. Just give me your name and your email address there, lower left-hand corner. So 3 things here over on the blog at Sideways Markets. First of all, download the charts below the video here tonight. Grab your free pass, upper left-hand corner, and register for your nightly newsletter. Just a heads up, if you grab the free pass or if you register for our newsletter mailing list, I'm going to send you a verification email to make sure you're not a robot. So make sure you guys check your email. And don't forget, it might slip into the junk or the spam folder there too. So check your email to make sure you got the email from me. Alrighty? Looking good. Let's jump right into it here today. Starting first, as we always do, the mighty mini Russell. Looking at the Russell here this evening, well. We finally got the move off the lows. We were wondering when we'd see a higher high here, right, over the past few weeks. We haven't seen a higher high on this chart since, well, boy, it might have been last October, right? You can see here lower highs until today, right? Finally got that higher high today. I can't say I'm surprised, right? I mean, there's bound to be some profit taking here at these lows. There was bound to be some bargain hunters here at these lows. So nothing we weren't expecting. 3 steps to success. What's my first step? Trend. What's my trend right now? Well, here's a good example of a downtrend that has this little bit, right, got a little bit of bullishness to it here, but we're definitely still in a downtrend. And the reason why is because we just made that new high. If we can pull back and then stay above that high, now I'll start drinking the buyer's Kool-Aid. But I'm not quite there yet, right? We have seen this many times before. We break a new high, right? And sure enough, wham, right back to where we came from. So we are not out of the woods yet, but we definitely made a new high today. Trend is still down. Now, what do I do? Step number 2. Step number 2, with that downtrend, I want to sell at a setup, right? What does the trend tell me? Trend tells me direction. What does a setup tell me? A setup tells me in that downward trend, this is where you should be looking to take your trades. We see here 91.9, 98.1. So we got 91.9, 98.1. I've got 6.5, and of course 10.8 up top there, 27.9. Very easy to see. We just missed that sell zone overhead, right? And so we're looking a little bit bullish, and I wouldn't honestly mind if we go a little bit higher here, get me into this area here, right? That's a big reversal line there right before 1100, and then head on down. Now, guys, what I've done here is I've projected these targets. If you're a member of mine, you know how I find my targets. These targets are projected as if we've gone up and then down, all right? So I tried to anticipate a jump up overnight. So 68.1 and 51 even. right? Don't be the sucker. Make sure you put a couple ticks on that, right? 68.3, 51.3, things like that. So add a couple ticks to it, be safe, and you should be able to grab those as your profit targets. We'll be watching that closely here tomorrow morning when we get into our trade room here tomorrow morning. Moving forward, though, on the Russell, again, you'll see we got this short-term move higher, right? So the short-term move higher. Long-term, we're still bearish. But what if you want to be a buyer right now, right? What if you're jumping on the buyer's bandwagon right now? Well, we got some good clues here on this 32 anchor here this evening. Couple things here. First of all, look at the volume coming in as we go higher. That was the first time today that we ever saw that. We saw that because we had a couple times today where we kept on trying to go higher, right? But volume kept trembling. So we had a difficult time picking up on who was really in charge as it was going higher. But this chart does not lie. You can see here that higher. Who the heck is calling my office right now? Don't they know I'm doing a newsletter right now? Get out of here. All right, back to the chart. Phone. Who uses a phone these days? Who uses a telephone these days? All right, so we got volume confirming the move higher. We got resistance overhead here at 91.2. Here's the problem, guys. If you want to be a buyer on this Russell right now, you are going to be buying at these highs. Right? So if you want to be a buyer, if you're on the bandwagon here with the bulls, then you got some great buying opportunities as you pull back, right? That's what you're looking for here as you pull back. So I've got my 73.5, I've got my 72.7, 68.2. You can see quite a few areas here. 65.7, 58.1, and 55.9, right? So if you're a buyer, and again, I'm looking to be a seller at these highs right now, but if you wanted some short-term targets, right? These make for great targets if you're short with me here for tomorrow. Or, like I said, if you're already on the bull bandwagon here, you're going to look to buy those here. Bottom line right now, I would not recommend buying here at these highs right now on that Russell, but we do have some volume clues here on that Russell telling us probably should be looking bullish. Last but not least here on the Russell, here's my 16 anchor. You can see, again, no question about this here. We got the higher highs. We're getting higher lows. This is very short term, obviously. I've got buy zones here. I've got a channel set up. I've got a trigger zone set up, right? We got 3 trigger zone setups down at the bottom. So the bottom line right now is the ultimate scenario. Long term, we're still looking bearish. But in the short term, though, we definitely can be a buyer on the way up to those key levels we mentioned on the first anchor chart, that 64 anchor. So I would not be surprised here if by the end of this evening, early tomorrow morning in London, well, we got that big round number of 1100 right there. So I wouldn't be surprised here. Get up to that high, and then we'll be looking for that short tomorrow here during OPEX. So bullish in the short term right now in the Russell, bearish in the long term. You can see, of course, more clues here. They really slowed it right on down towards the end of that session today. You'll notice here volume dropping, couldn't make a new high. So what I would recommend is you'll notice we got those buy zones down bottom. If you're looking to be a buyer right now, careful. I would recommend waiting for this pullback before you go buying. If it starts to take off to the upside, though, obviously scalping to the upside here again. I will not be surprised at all if this thing gets up to 1100 before we get the long-term sell for tomorrow or possibly Monday on the Russell. Let's keep moving. Moving forward here from that mighty Russell to this funny yellow metal they call gold futures. Looking at the gold here right now, no life. We're lifeless here. Somebody check this market for a pulse right now. Earlier in the month of October, we got all the way down below 1200. We tested the lows from earlier on this year, literally earlier on this year. And then we jump back up now that the world is scared stiff over Ebola. Now, that was a really bad pun. We got a lot of different things that are mixing up these markets right now, right? Ebola, of course, has caught everyone's attention because now everybody's got Ebola, right? Have you noticed that? All of a sudden, someone's sniffling next to me on the train. Oh, that guy's got Ebola. Everyone has Ebola according to the news media right now. So bottom line, we know that fear is out there. The global slowdown is definitely causing some fear to enter the market right now. There's really no fear of violence around the world, right? So there's enough fear in the market right now to keep this gold propped up, okay? Hopefully we'll get this new normal back in place here for the equity markets and the fear factor for the whole meltdown of the S&P. It's not going to happen, guys, but of course the news media wants you to think so. Looking at this gold, though, we're still stuck. We're still stuck right here at this 38.9. Like I said earlier this week, I was expecting price to go all the way up to that 1266. I was thinking I would be talking about selling short here on OPEX-Friday tomorrow, but we are not there yet. We are not there yet. So holding tight here on gold right now, and as we look at this a little bit faster time frame, we got the buy here at that buy zone this morning, but it was so slow. It was so slow right now. We're still above the key support here on gold, 23.9, very, very important level. That is my line in the sand. We get below 23.9, and all of a sudden we're right back down to that 1200 level again. What we're looking at right now is higher highs, higher lows. What's my trend? Trend is clearly bullish. Where's my setup? We got setups here at 36.2, 32.8. I've got 30.1, 25.2, and 21.3. Now, we saw the test this morning, right? We tested that 36.2. This was a great example today on gold of how not every test is going to trigger an entry. What do I mean by that? Well, you might be wondering, I'm not just blindly buying these green boxes, right, or selling the red boxes. What I'm doing is I'm waiting for price to get down to the area, and then I'm waiting to see if we get a reaction to it. The reaction we got today was equivalent to a dead body. I mean, it just kind of sat there. Towards the end of the morning, it kind of fluttered up a little bit, right, but there was no reaction. There was no catalyst that entered the market there at 36.2. So we're still waiting here to see. And usually when this happens like this, usually when we test it once, twice, that pretty much tells me this whole area right here probably going to be a waste. So I'm going to lean on the 32.8, right? I'm going to lean on the lower end of that range and, of course, 30.1. And I won't have a bad thing to say about buying this 25.2 either, guys. So don't be afraid to buy as this thing goes lower. But remember, line in the sand here, though, if we happen to get below that 23.9 tomorrow, probably not going to happen. But if it happens, though, we're looking to sell off in the 1200 there on the gold. Last chart here on the gold here is the 16. There's not a lot of new stuff on this chart right now, right? Not a lot of new information in this chart. Pretty much the same scenario that we saw on the 32. We're definitely bullish here right now in the short term. But in the real short term, though, boy, oh boy, we were exactly correct about that trend line coming off that high, right? All the way up, buying, taking profit, but it's starting to get really narrow here, guys. Starting to get really narrow. If this keeps up tomorrow, what is that? That's a descending triangle. And so we know lower prices will usually follow after a descending triangle. So most difficult part right now is just we got no personality. We've got nothing happening here on gold. Somebody's got to shake this thing up a little bit so we can get some better trading opportunities here on gold right now. All right, so be patient on gold here tomorrow. Tomorrow's OPEX-Friday. I'm not sure if we're going to get anything better out of it tomorrow. Last but not least here on the crude, yeah, we pushed below that January low here this year, all the way below the 86s, all the way down to the 80 area. That's 79. And then sure enough, we finally got some profit taking here. And just at the Russell, we finally made a new high, right? We finally made a higher high here. Now you can see I've got some great sell zones waiting for us overhead here right now in our 64, right? 87.34, 86.82. We got some great sell areas here waiting for us overhead, but we're not quite there yet right now. So long term, definitely bearish. Long-term traders, if you're a seller along with me right now, I've got 86.82. 87.34, 89.12. Those are definitely going to be areas long-term where I'll be looking to sell here on the black gold. Let's give you guys something a little bit easier to work with for tomorrow. Yuck! Get the kids out of the room for this one, guys. This one is not looking easy. This is what happens when we drop 10% in 1 week. You get all hell breaks loose. You got clearly profit taking down around 80, right? I took myself out of my long-term position down around 80. I've got profit taking at 80. You got bargain hunters at 80. If you remember, I talked about this earlier. On Tuesday night, I get a heads up from my buddy down the street. basically telling me that all the big investment banks were circulating rumors that there were going to be some big buyers entering the market. But at the same time, we heard from Saudi Arabia earlier this week and said they're not touching production. They hope these prices go lower so they can shake out all those weak hands, right? Shake out all the small producers in the marketplace. So it's really tough to tell what the future brings. That's why we as technical traders here at School of Trade, we just focus on the chart. So we know right now long-term trend is down. You can see this huge, right, higher high. You can see it comes all the way back right to the middle, right? So we get a higher high here. Now, if you look closely at this, we actually didn't get to 84.90. We got about, 82? You'll see the next chart. The next chart you'll see here, we actually didn't get all the way to that 84.90. It looks like that on this 32, but it wasn't actually all the way there. So this is tough. I am definitely looking for a short right now on crude, but I want to get it below this low, right? So I want to get it below this low, and my target down here, 80.86 and 79.78. I am not abandoning my sells here right now, my bearishness right now, because, we got to give the long-term downtrend the benefit of the doubt. In my opinion, until we get and stay above on this 64, until we can get and stay above, let me get a little bit zoomed in here for us, until we get and stay above this 86.82, I can't even think about being bullish right now. All right, that's long-term, obviously. You want to be a bull short-term, right? Sure, go for it. But we know right now the trend is my friend, and we know by following that trend, we get those bigger moves, we get those easy bounces, we get lucky more often. So right now, we're looking for price. I would have no problem with price going up, and I'll sell this sucker right back down. We didn't get to 84.90, okay? If we had already, I would say, probably not going to be the right spot. We'll wait for 86.29. But we have not technically reached 84.90 yet. That's my best sell here going into tomorrow. Then I've got 86.29, 86.82, right? Those are two areas. I'm definitely looking for sells here on crude tomorrow. So we've got the sells at 86.82, 86.29, 84.90, 85.55. Got this trend line overhead. I doubt that trend line will be strong enough. I would imagine it'll probably go right through it and then collapse. But in the event that it does reverse off that trend line, that will be another sell for us as well, right, off that long-term trend line here. Okay, so I got, we'll say trend line set up, wedge set up, double top set up, and then that's a reversal line set up, guys, 86.82. Okay. So I'm staying patient on that. And then I think we can say here, you'll notice, 82.43. You'll see we've got a couple highs here, right? High, low. Okay, so we get below that 82.43. We'll say 82.40, okay, just for a round number. So 82.40 here. All right, guys, and I'll make sure to update that chart in the download. 82.40 or so. Get below that level. We got an easy target there at 80.86 there, guys, on crude for tomorrow, and then down to 79.78. Last chart here. This is the best one. This is the one that's going to give you the most information here. You can see on this chart here on crude, we've got our, as you go from top down, 87.95. I've got 86.29, 85.87. And you'll notice we went to 84.83, but didn't quite get to 84.90. So that would be a wonderful double top, as well as the sell back to 80.86. So we're still looking bearish here right now. I've got targets at 80.86, 79.78, $79 even. Those are going to be some easy targets for us tomorrow. All right. So again, short-term buyer on crude. Your guess is as good as mine on this one, guys. Your guess is really as good as mine. It's very difficult to be a buyer right now on crude oil. And until we see this trend change, you're ultimately swimming against the current right now trying to be a buyer. There is some value in the idea of bargain hunting right now, people coming in and short covering. But, again, nothing fundamentally has changed out there in this world of ours. And technically, we haven't made that higher high and stayed above that higher high yet, right? So this is that 82.43 area we were talking about earlier. Looks like it's closer to 45 on this chart, right? So again, this is the classic scenario, right? We get a range here. We go above that range. If I can stay above it, okay, now I can be a buyer. But we're not out of the woods yet, right? Because if it collapses here, we're going right back into that range, and I got my targets waiting for me down at the bottom. So we're watching this closely here overnight. And again, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it goes all the way up and then whoops-a-daisy, right back where it came from here tomorrow morning, which just happens to also be OPEX-Friday. All right, speaking of OPEX-Friday, so again, long-term here on crude is bearish, short-term here is bullish. Or tough to say it's bullish right now, but obviously we know why the bulls are getting involved here in this market right now. How about that news for tomorrow? Let's get ready for tomorrow's trading session. Got a real quiet day on the calendar tomorrow overall. Okay, not a lot of news here for tomorrow. It's because tomorrow is OPEX-Friday. The third Friday of every 1 month. Okay, the third Friday of every 1 month is OPEX-Friday. The third Friday of every 3 months, in the months of 3, 6, 9, and 12, are going to be quadruple witching Friday. We just had a quad witching in September. We'll have another one in December. Tomorrow is options expiration on Friday, October 17th. What that tells me is that we're going to have that good old self-fulfilling prophecy will kick into high gear. Tomorrow's a Friday, and with it being OPEX Friday, it's a little pseudo traders holiday tomorrow. So basically, Fridays are notorious for being relatively low volume because people just simply want to get out of the office on a Friday, just like they don't want to be in the office on a Monday. So we know Fridays are historically low volume, right, or lower volume, right, than other days of the week. Doesn't mean you can't trade Fridays. I definitely think you'll be just fine tomorrow trading Friday. But the reality is, though, you do want to expect a shorter window of opportunity on a Friday morning. And then when you throw in the idea that tomorrow is OPEX Friday, options expiration Friday, we know tomorrow is the last day of trading before options expire. So we assume that a lot of traders out there will choose to grab the golf clubs tomorrow, right, rather than opening up their laptop. So be aware tomorrow might be a slow day as far as volume goes. And then another very big concern we have for crude oil traders is that tomorrow being the 17th, usually around the 18th of the month, crude oil rolls over. What that means is tomorrow being the 17th, I don't want to spook us right now, and hopefully the trading gods aren't listening to me right now. But if we don't get the rollover tomorrow, we're going to be sharing volume between the 11.14 and the 12.14 contracts on crude oil. Right now, we're trading the November contract. We'll be moving to the December contract either tomorrow or next Monday. What that means is that tomorrow we may have, right, a little double whammy here. Well, triple whammy. It's a Friday, lower volume, OPEX Friday, lower volume, and then rollover on crude oil. Like I said, you're going to see if you open up a market analyzer in NinjaTrader, if you look at the volume between the two front months, you're going to see they're going to be sharing volume tomorrow. So that means both of them will have lower volume, the 11 and the 12 contracts. So we're expecting to see lower volume tomorrow because it's a Friday, because it's OPEX, and then you throw in one more wrinkle. It's also going to be right up there with crude oil contract rollover tomorrow. Okay, so be on the lookout tomorrow morning for that slowdown in volume while you're trading crude. As you guys always know, though, for me tomorrow, we'll be opening up our trade room at 8 a.m. So we're going to go through all of this with all of our students. So don't do this on your own, guys, right? Come out and join us. We'll walk you through how to set up all the charts, how to set up all the workspace, make sure you're aware of the scenario for tomorrow, and we'll navigate through contract rollover tomorrow morning, as well as calling all of our trades live in real time before they trigger with exact entries. News tomorrow morning, I've got 8:30 a.m. We get some housing starts. I also have CPI out of Canada. We talked about this yesterday. Which market is tied to that CAD? What market would react the most to a Red Star news from Canada? Crude oil, right? Big exporters of the black gold up there, our good friends to the north. So we know tomorrow morning we got housing starts. We got CPI tomorrow morning at 8:30. And then we jump down to 10 o'clock, well, pretty much 10 o'clock, 9:55 tomorrow, right? We've got your consumer sentiment. So 2 Red Star News events at 8:30. That should get the morning going off on the right foot. Just be aware, tomorrow's OPEX Friday with some rollover concerns on crude oil. Watch that volume. Don't force it. If we're seeing it just sleeping away tomorrow morning, we know exactly what's going on, so be patient. What usually happens is we usually get about an hour on an OPEX Friday where you're going to get the best price action. It's usually between that 9:30 and 10:30 time, right? So be patient. You got some Red Star News early in the morning. If that doesn't get us going, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets, if the best price action between 8:30 and 10:30. But usually on a Friday morning, though, it can be that 9:30 to 10:30 window where you get the best price action. As always, come in to see us tomorrow morning in our live trade room. We'll walk you right on through it as we see it in real time. And I want to thank you so much, guys, for being part of this newsletter this week. Had a fantastic week here in the trade room. Had a wonderful newsletter. Short week because of Columbus Day holiday on Monday. Now, of course, I don't do my newsletter on Friday evening, so the next time I see you guys, we'll be back here on Monday. That is what? Monday, the 20th of October. Don't forget that Halloween costume, guys and gals. Don't forget that Halloween costume. You don't want to be digging through that bargain bin, right, on the 30th of the month, guys, right? You don't want to go as Obama again this year, do you? I got to get me one of those masks. I should wear that tomorrow in the trade room. Anyways, want to remind you guys, head on over here to SchoolOfTrade.com. Join that free trial. You get a free invite to join our trade room. You can see what the talk's all about. And, of course, we got beginner, intermediate, and advanced memberships, and someone standing by here on live support 24/7, 365 to help you guys out if you need it. School of Trade is the premier place to learn and earn on the web. I look forward to seeing you guys and gals tomorrow in our trade room. If not, we'll see you next Monday for another edition of our nightly newsletter. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you guys Monday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Have a great weekend out there. Be well, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.